If you're like me and you live near a river or a creek in Vermont, you've had stressful nights as floodwaters rise towards your home or your fields. Across Vermont, everyone knows someone who's been affected by flooding. But there are organizations that can help property owners at no cost.
A berm once stood here. Today, it's gone. Across Vermont, landowners, watershed groups, and conservation organizations are rethinking the state's relationship with its rivers.
This is what we're going for. Beautiful chaos. With trees down, let the river do whatever it wants to do.
We are in Marshfield, where until recently, a large berm stood along this stretch of the Winooski River. Now it's been removed, part of a growing effort to modernize Vermont's approach to flood control.
So I'm Mead Binhammer. I'm a project director for Vermont Land Trust. I work in the central part of the state. We're here in Marshfield, Vermont on the banks of the Winooski River on a conserved property with a river corridor easement. So everything you see behind me here that's devoid of grass, so all of the grass was a hayfield at a lower elevation. And historically what had been done is a berm, really soil had been pushed up to create a berm along the banks of the Winooski River here. And the reason a farmer would do that is to basically preserve their hayfield to be able to take multiple cuts of hay off. The problem with that is that it doesn't allow the river to access its floodplain during big flood events and spread out and slow down. That's really one of the important things that we gain from removing the berm. So we conducted a berm removal project which involved heavy equipment out here taking out scoops of soil and getting it down to an elevation that's the same or slightly below the elevation of the hayfield.
With the berm removed, the next step is restoring the riverbank itself.
I'm Sam Puttycombe, a project manager with Friends of the Winooski River, and today we are planting a stream side buffer. The goal of this project, which is a clean water project funded by the state of Vermont, is to keep sediment dirt out of the river to protect water quality. And trees and shrubs along river sides are really good at doing that. One, because when they mature, their roots hold the soil and create it more stable, so there's less likely for erosion to happen and for dirt to go into the river. You'll also have a runoff filter from the water coming in from the hayfield above us, so that'll be preventing soil from coming from upland into the river. And then also, this field floods frequently and will potentially flood even more frequently now that there isn't a berm here. And when all of this vegetation grows up and it's nice and thick, when the floodwaters come through, it's going to slow all of the water down, and that water is going to drop sediment onto the land rather than continuing it downstream. So those three things are the properties of trees and shrubs that make cleaner water for the river.
Sam points out that their plantings, which are all native species, also bring an environmental benefit.
Native species do very well because they're adapted to this landscape. They're also going to be the species that are best for providing habitat, which is another big reason why we do these buffer plantings, is to provide habitat both for aquatic organisms like fish and turtles, but also like terrestrial organisms that are going to be walking through the buffer, and birds as well.
Now, in a flood event, water will be able to spread out over the hayfield, slow down, debris will be caught by these plantings that are being established, and it'll have downstream impacts and downstream benefits in the case of a flood event.
Protecting their neighbors downstream is certainly on the mind of the property owners here.
Tim and Marie McClay.
I'm hoping that it's going to lessen the amount of water, not the amount of water, but the speed of the water going downstream to make it easier on downstream properties, because like last year, Plainfield really got hit bad, and hoping that, it'll have less, of a channel to create the energy. It'll be able to smooth out a little bit.
For Tim, there are practical benefits too. He hopes removing the berm will help floodwaters drain from the field more easily.
In this particular case, I can see where it would if the berm is higher and the water can't get out, but now it can get out easier, hopefully. So it makes the field a little more usable for me and get better hay out of it.
Projects like this are happening across Vermont, with the hope that as more landowners participate, the benefits will add up.
My name is Shawn White. I'm the Watershed Forestry Partnership Coordinator. I work with UVM Extension and Lake Champlain Sea Grant. And my job is to promote tree planting projects along rivers and streams, and also in upland areas, for the purposes of maintaining water quality, promoting flood resilience, and providing habitat. This is just one project of many. And, as they accumulate, we really achieve those goals of improved habitat, flood resiliency, and water quality improvement. These projects often, the way that they are developed it varies from project to project. Sometimes we have landowners who know about these kinds of projects and reach out to watershed groups, and that's how they're initiated. And sometimes it's the other way around. A watershed group or the Vermont Land Trust, or sometimes Vermont Fish and Wildlife, or some of these other partners that are all working together on this kind of project will reach out to the landowner and explain why we're doing this kind of work, explain that they can participate for free, there's no cost to them, that they can either get, in some cases if the land is in agriculture, they can get a stipend or land rental. There's varying levels of engagement. Sometimes it's just somebody who wants to plant some trees, and that's it. There's no easement like on this particular property.
But what do projects like this actually look like years later? We head to Joe Zuaro's property on the banks of the Winooski River.
Seems like these white pine do the best. They really like it down here.
Can you describe what this looked like before?
It looked like the field out there. This was literally field. And when we've lived here for 45 years. The more we lived here, the longer we lived here, the more we understood about what we wanted to do and what we thought was the right thing to do. So all this.
How long ago did these plantings go in?
The first set of plantings was maybe 10 years ago.
2015 is what I
okay.
In my records.
And yeah, they get volunteers to come and do the plantings. A lot of them are fishermen because they understand that planting, having foliage next to the river is beneficial.
Years later, the riverbank here has been transformed.
Nice spot.
Yeah, especially in the summer. So this is what we're going for. Beautiful chaos. With trees down, the river doing its thing. These stones that change like yearly in different places. The way there's almost in some places there's actually a canopy over the water to shade the water, make the water cooler. Like even in this spot where this swimming hole is, when on the hottest days, the sun will only get here for a few hours because of all these big trees that are up. by not arming the bank, armoring, I guess, the bank, it allows the river to sway into and erode the bank, which initially sounds like a dumb idea, but what it's done is, and I'll show you up here, it's created this big basin which stores a lot of water when there's a flood. And it's definitely beneficial for us. So everything on the left side here has been planted. And it's been a variety of stuff. You know, like that maple there, there's a birch.
Joe admits he wasn't always convinced that this approach would work.
You could see this tree over here. See that tree that's fallen in right there? That tree was planted. And at first when we were told that, you know, we started doing this, I was my sense was, well, this could just be a waste. I mean, planting these trees and then having that happen. But what we hope will happen is that these trees that are planted further back, by the time the river erodes those, and if they fall in, it'll create what's called a weir, which just does a little. It makes the river flow slightly differently, and then maybe the river will do something different, and you can't tell what the river's going to do. So we planted along the whole river, and you know that's what's happened to a couple of trees, but that guy's hanging in there.
These kinds of projects, like I said, are free to the landowners. Any interested landowner who has frontage on even a very small stream can reach out to their local watershed group and ask to discuss a project. There's no obligation. This is not a regulatory program. It's all voluntary. It's very simple and easy, and the watershed groups do all of the work, and it happens fast. I mean, all of a sudden you have a little forest along your stream.
As always, thanks for watching. In Vermont, I'm Ben Willis with Across the Fence.